Hello, dear friends. Welcome to another program here at Kardec Radio in collaboration with the Spirit Society of Richmond. Here we are for another study of one of the articles of the Spiritist magazine. And as always, we're going to remind you to visit spiritistmagazine.org. There you'll find all the resources that you need to nourish your soul, to learn for this lifetime and for immortality. And today's article is from issue 44 of the Spiritist magazine. And the article is titled The Best Propaganda. Let's see what it happens to be from the Spiritist magazine of Kardec's time by a spirit that is anonymous, but the medium's name is Mr. Nivard, October 23rd, 1868. A long time ago, relative, of course. But this message was received at the Spirit Society of Paris and published by Kardec. And you can find this article on issue 44 of the current Spiritist magazine in the English language. So I'm going to share with you the article. The reason we do it this way, dear friends, we would like to encourage you to write comments, questions, say hello. We want also for you to feel confident that you can do this at your house. You can do this kind of study at your own pace, with your family, with your friends, in both realms of life. When we are together with the good spirits, either we have a physical companion or not, another reincarnated being with us, we are never alone. We are here with one another, connecting with the good spirit. So we are going to encourage you to reach out to the resources that you have, to nourish your soul, to quench the thirst for knowledge in your heart, for you to learn of the teachings of Spiritism so that you can act and increase the abilities that you have to develop in this lifetime. You see next to me? That's what the article looks like at the Spiritist magazine. I want to point out a couple of things to you. This is issue 44. This is what the cover of the Spiritist magazine looks like. As a reminder, we always have a message from the Spiritist Conduct book by André Luiz. You have a beautiful table of contents. We've talked about microbial invasion in a different program. I'll try to link to that video here. If not, you can go to the YouTube channels of both Kardec Radio and the Spirit Society of Richmond, and you can find a playlist for the Spiritist magazine. Not only you'll be nourishing your soul, but you're also going to increase the relevance of the content, and then those platforms can offer these teachings to other people. We've also talked about this article before, the article Learning from the Spirit May, and today we're going to talk about the best propaganda. Now, I'd like to encourage you. We also discussed the article from Seek Inner Renewal. Another article here from Humberto de Campos from the book Good News, which all of these teachings are not yet in English published, unfortunately, but you can have it here. Beautiful message, beautiful art crafted by the team of the Spirit Society of Virginia about alcohol, social drinking, what does to you. We always have something from Joanna D'Angeli's Balancing the Feminine and the Masculine, a message from Emmanuel about forgiveness, not a message from the one about continued teachings, another video we have done before. And I want to go back to keep going. We have talked about 20 exercises for inner transformation by May. I'm by Spirit Sheila of, we're talking about many different topics, and this is the one I want to get to. At the end of each issue, the Spiritist magazine is published every 3 months, so you have 4 usually 4 issues per year. Every 3 months you get a brand new teachings. And then you have at the end, at the back of the magazine, the iPad version, the PDF versions, what you're seeing here that I open in my computer, on my computer. You have a message to share with the children. So it's from all ages. Even if you don't have, the children can't read, you can learn, you can pass on the teachings to them. If you are expecting whatever you learn, remember that Spirit is there as well. And then if your children are able to participate, you can read these messages and stories for them as well. So many different resources, very easy to use. And that's why we do it this way. No need for anything fancy. Here we go. This is the article for today. It's called The Best Propaganda. So let's make it, let's make it a little more visible for all of us. Let's hide our sidebar. Yes, we record this and we want to make it simple as possible. So if you have it with you, I want you to go there and open issue 44 and look for this article. From an anonymous spirits through the mediumship of Mr. Nivard. And today is actually an invitation. These good spirits will invite us to join them in this quest of knowing and practicing Spiritism. He says here, if there are few mediums tonight, it is not that there are spirits missing. On the contrary, they are very numerous. Some are habitual, who come to instruct or to be instructed. Others in great number are newcomers to you. It is true that they come without a letter of entry, but they came with the consent and invitation of the usual spirits. Many of these spirits are happy to attend the session, and that is so mainly because they see here several Spiritists whom they love and direct, who have thought of coming among you. Just here, we're going to park here for a little bit. If you are at your Spiritist center, you have exactly this. Even if you don't have the physical house full, there are very numerous spirits. The spirits are never missing. Anywhere in the world we go, the spirits will be there. Some are habitual, they're customs. They come to us, they are currently with us. They come to instruct. There are mentors, the superior spirits that speak through the mediums, who psychograph from the mediums, and others come to be instructed. So when you are studying this beautiful doctrine, dear friend, you are instructing yourself in the physical. You're blessed and almost won the lottery because you know of Spiritism. Very few people on the earth know of Spiritism compared to all the other religions and all the other teachings. So we are very, very blessed to have these teachings that console us in this lifetime. So when you're doing anything, even if you're just reading a message out loud and doing a prayer, the spirits will come to instruct you and give you ideas, and others will be around you to be instructed as well as you are. So even the people who dwell in our homes, the wandering spirits on the street, it gets cold, it gets hot, they come inside. How do I know that? That's all described in the books of Andrea Luiz in detail. And he says here, others are newcomers. They may come without a letter of entry, but they come with the consent and invitation of the usual spirits. So nobody is allowed in the meeting unless they have been granted admission by the superior spirits who guide our teachings. So if we're vigilant, if we study, if we're cohesive in our practice as Spiritist practitioners, then the spirits will be allowed in. And even if they come to disrupt, it may mean that we're not as concise, we're not as dedicated. It's a test for you and I. And many are happy to attend. Many they come to instruct us, to be instructed. They're allowed to stay around us, to inspire us and everything. Isn't that beautiful? Just here, we could stop here and go about all right, but there's more. Because the best propaganda for Spiritism, the best propaganda for the good news of the Christ is what? Is the practice of the teachings in your daily life, in my daily life. So let's continue. There are many spiritists in the world. I'll make it a little bit easier for all of us to read together. There are many spiritists in the world, but their degree of instruction on the doctrine is far from sufficient to be classified among the enlightened spirits. Is that us? How many times have we really studied the Spirit's book, the Medium's book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, Genesis? What is Spiritism? Posthumous Works, the Spiritist magazine of the time of Kardec. Really to know and instruct ourselves. So we may be allowed today to be here to reflect on the amount of time we spend in doing the things throughout the day and how much of that is dedicated to instruction. No doubt they are enlightened, but they lack the practice. Or if they practice, they need to be helped in order to bring in their trying efforts more persuasion and less enthusiasm. When I speak of the practice of the Spiritism, I mean the part that's concerned propaganda. Well, it's more difficult than one might think. In order to exercise it effectively, it's essential to be well versed in the philosophy of Spiritism and also in the moral part. So you need to know the precepts of Spiritism, the reasoned faith behind the things we say, the sense that it makes to have reincarnation, the proof of reincarnation, the multitude of inhabited planets, the different levels of evolution of the spirit throughout its internships in different kingdoms, and ultimately in the human kingdom, and then the hierarchy of spirits. But also the moral part. What does it mean for you and I to be here today and know of these? It's beautiful to be able to say things about the philosophy of Spiritism, to quote books and remember specific questions. But what are we doing with that knowledge? Are we putting it aside and hiding the talent because we are afraid of its consequences? Or we are going out in the world and multiplying it to the best of our ability? He says the moral part is easy to know. It requires little effort. However, it's more difficult to practice because only example can make it well understood. So to know of it is one thing. You have to feel the teachings. You have to then practice by example. You have to do it, and then you will understand it. You will better understand virtue by setting an example than by defining it. To be virtuous is to make one understand love and virtue. There is nothing to say of the one who does what he advised others to do. Thus, in regard to the moral part of Spiritism, there is no difficulty in theory, but much difficulty in its practice. I'm going to make an addendum right now. If you go to other issues of the Spiritist magazine, I believe it's issue 41. I was looking at it earlier. But every issue has one chapter of the book, Good News, by the Spirit Humberto de Campos, through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier. In one of the chapters, Humberto de Campos described to us an exchange between Jesus and one of the doctors of the law of the time, where the doctor of the law is questioning Jesus, and Jesus will say, and I want to paraphrase Humberto de Campos, "You've studied so much, you know so much of the law. but you need to feel it in your hearts. So knowing that God is the loving creator, the intelligence behind everything. What does it mean in your life? Knowing that God is good, God is all powerful, all loving. Do you feel loved by God? Or just a knowledge that you know that God loves you? Do you really feel that when you are in pain, when difficulties arise, you know God is there? More than knowing that there's a chapter in the book Genesis, chapter 3, God, that talks about how God manifests itself in the world, how God created the universal cosmic fluid and its modifications, and that's what you and I are using today, not only to co-create and create our very spiritual body, but our physical body, and co-create the internet, the camera, the microphone, and the Spiritist magazine. But do you really feel the divine providence is the way of God's resources to be felt and distributed throughout the universe? Do you feel the loving presence of God in your life when you are in need? And not the God, because our language is lacking. We use pronouns. We tend to think of God as a father, or we personalize, anthropomorphize God. But God may not materialize in front of you, but God will send the loving presence of your mentors when you are in need. But that comes with merit, and it comes with study, it comes with practice, anything in life. In order to do something well, you have to do it over and over again. Be self-aware, reflect, learn, try something new. And that's the same thing as with the practice of the moral part of Spiritism. First step you need to know, then you have to practice. And the example is more powerful than the actual beautiful words that you and I may be saying. Because it's much easier to say, we're going to love our enemies. Everybody's a child of God. And then when it comes to forgiving of offenses, we want to be forgiven. But it's hard when we are the ones who are suffering and we see that someone else suffered us. Are we forgiving them now to our enemies? See what I mean? So we have to reason the knowledge. But of course, first you want to study. You want to go to the Spirit's book. You want to find the age-appropriate literature to give to the children, the classes. And it comes to forming a group and being in group. Not only the spirits are around you. They come to instruct. They come to be instructed. They receive passes. Our spiritual companions from previous lives might be there. Sometimes we call them obsessors. And then now they're watching us. They're saying beautiful words, no action. So we want to be action coherent with the words we have, the things we've learned. So you say, a moral part is not difficult in theory. It's beautiful for me to tell you, you are loved. God willed you to be in the universe. You have a reason. The other thing is for me to reach out to you when I see that you're in need. To give more than I receive. To not have one more thing, one more item, and then donate that money to my Spiritist center, to a cause. That is where the rubber meets the road. And he says here, the philosophical part presents more difficulties to be understood and therefore requires more efforts. He says, the person who seeks to be a Spiritist must put themselves to work to know it well, because it is the means through which they deal with more success. It is helpful not to get caught up in a material phenomenon and give to their explanation without much development. They should reserve such developments for the analysis of the facts of intelligent order, without, however, saying too much, for the spirit of the novices in Spiritism should not be weary. Concise explanations, well-chosen examples, adapting well to the issue, that's all that is needed. Were I to be concise, repeat that one should not know less. To give examples of explanations appropriate to the subject, it is necessary to know in depth this philosophy of Spiritism. So, goes back to what I was saying. In order for us to teach others and to show to others the reasoning behind our reasoned faith, no pun intended, we need to know. We need to be able to say, I can see that you're having a hard time. Here's a book that has similar situations, because we don't have to go through the pain of others to learn from them. In science, we have something, I'm a scientist, we have something that's called case studies. You can publish a study, you have 2 treatments, different other systems of testing to look for causality. But there are case studies. People published a specific example of a disease or a treatment or something unusual. And the physician and the nurse don't need to wait until they experience that. They can learn from that teaching. And that's how these beautiful teachings of André Luiz come about. When we read a manual of André Luiz, Humberto de Campos, the books of Neo Lúcio, Joana de Angelis, and the Spirits, and we have 400 books from Chico Xavier that we need to read before, we discarnate, and now we may find ourselves without the doctrine in our lifetime. We can use those teachings to give the examples and explanations that are appropriate for that person at that time. The explanation you're going to give to a parent that lost their child is maybe different from someone who lost their job, and they're both losses. They're both very pertinent to what we have. Or someone who's experienced a disease, or someone who lost someone to suicide. Those are different aspects, and we need to go read the books and know what happens and know what we're talking about. And take the example of our friends in other religions. They know their Bible. They can quote things. We should be able to go back and do an analysis, as it talks about in the beginning. We don't have the depth of the knowledge to be an enlightened spirit, but we can, with perseverance, with intelligence, with our intelligence and abilities, with our well-organized calendars, with priorities, then we can do that. He says the philosophy is summarized in the Spirit's book, so we need to not read it, but study it and absorb it. The practical side in the medium's book. So if you're a medium, someone is developing mediumship, your group wants to start a mediumistic meeting, we need to go back to the medium's book and see what he talks about, what kind of phenomena that is, how are they manifested. Can someone become a medium? Can they develop their mediumship? How they do it? You can even go back and read the rules of the Spirit Society of Paris. It's there. The different kinds of members. Guess what? There was a fee, a membership fee, because the Spiritist centers cost money to run, to pay the bills, the rent, the light, the internet, the water. We go freely there. The services are free, but there's a cost associated with running an organization. So that's there on the medium book as well. It says here, if you are well acquainted with the substance of those 2 works, which are the work of the spirits, you certainly have the happiness of bringing many of your brethren to such a comforting belief, and many who believe you placed on the true ground of love and charity. So today, the best propaganda that you and I can do is to study the books, know their content, reflect on them, and then apply the teachings to our daily lives. And to finalize, he says, so my friends, those of you who wish, and all who should desire to make your brothers and sisters share their beliefs, to call them to the banquet of consolation that Spiritism's offer to all their children, must morally practice Spiritism by practicing their morals, and intellectually spread around them the lights they have reaped or will reap in the communication with the spirits. All of this is easy peasy. It only takes true will. Well, my dear friends, in the name of your happiness and your tranquility, in the name of union and sharing, I exhort you to love. And I'm gonna end here today by telling you that we need to not only practice the morals of Spiritism by knowing and applying in our daily lives, but here, intellectually spread around the lights that you have reaped. You've been given this talent and abilities by the Master. Go to the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, chapter 30. There is a teachings based on the parable of the talents. If you are given the opportunity of knowing Spiritism in this lifetime, is a true blessing. You are a lottery winner, because in relation to the numbers of people who know Spiritism in the world, the majority of them do not speak English. And the few that do, they spread out, and we still have a low audience, meaning low reach. It should be much more. And that's why the work in English is harder, because we need to spread the light. This is a light. You cannot put the light under the table. You cannot hide the light under the bushel. You need to spread the light. So if you've been touched, you've been called to the service of Spiritism, this is the most precious teaching, knowing that you're more than the physical body, knowing about reincarnation, knowing the familial ties, blood ties, the law of society, and how we should act in the benefit of one another. The law of worship, God, the immortality of the soul, Jesus as our guiding model, so on and so forth. If anything, we need to realize the potential that you and I have to bring in this banquet of consolation that Spiritism offers to us, to all of those around us. So we need to share with them, intellectually spread, and let them make the decision to join us. But if you can help even one person, that was worth it. Dear friends, this message was received by the medium Mr. Nivard on October 23rd, 1868, a long time ago, at the Society of Paris in France. It's published in the Spiritist Review by Allan Kardec in November of 1868, published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. You can also buy the Spiritist magazine in English by Kardec, translated. Some of the years are available in English from the United States Spiritist Federation. You can also go to Kardecpedia, and then you can download it there for free. And you can download the app as well. Go to this website, spiritistmagazine.org. Go spread the good news of Christ by applying the teachings to your daily life, so you also can be an example for others. Go look at question 625 of the Spirit's book. Jesus is our guide and model, because in order to guide, you should have gone through the area to be a guide. You know where you're going, you know what you're dealing with. And then a model of perfect behavior on the planet is Jesus. So go instruct yourselves, go enlighten yourselves, go make sure that you can bring the consolation that you have to others as well, so we can share the good news of Christ. We can continue to co-create in goodness, because the world needs you. The world needs you to spread the good news of the Christ everywhere you go, by applying his teachings to your life and the life of your loved ones. Dear friends, what a blessing to be with you. I hope that between today and the next time we meet, you stay well, you stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.